Heidi Voigt is back in studio with us. Nice to see you one more time.
Yes, sir. Nice to see you.
I hope Valentine's Day was perfect.
It will be, I guess. Yeah.
There we go. All right. Tell me about contingencies, contingent offers. First of all, let's kind of explain what that whole thing is.
Well, there's always contingencies embedded in an offer generally, unless something's cash and it's very, very straightforward. But there's always contingencies of inspection and people's financing. But the contingencies that we really talk about when we say a home is contingent is generally we're talking about that it's subject to the sale of another home. So in order for the first house that, we're talking about to sell, a second house has to sell, which means there's basically three different parties within a transaction. Yeah. So, and that, I think relative to talk about now, because it became super common last year, but I think that it is going to be even more common this year. And a little bit of the calculated shift that I'm seeing is that when we started having contingent offers come back into our marketplace, the mentality was, if I'm going to take a contingent offer, I'm not going to have to negotiate very much on my price.
Makes sense.
Just because I'm making a concession by not having a slam dunk.
Right.
I feel that's going to be a little bit different this year.
Okay. When I was coming up, when I bought my first house, contingencies were the norm.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to sell your house, you find this other house. Well, you find this other house first, then you're going to put yours on the market because it'll sell.
Yeah.
It's a 30, 60, 90-day thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was just the plan.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, things got wacky.
Yeah, well, and then what we ran into was that people were able to get money to maybe own two properties.
Sure.
And, everything that we do in real estate is payment driven and, affordability driven.
Right.
And right now, we have a very payment driven buyer pool.
Okay.
And so when we're going into even contingent offers where, there's no slam dunk until certain things happen, buyers are still negotiating with sellers. And sellers are quite often having to have conversations of what is my true market. And so this is the conversation I've had with numerous people in probably the last 6 months, is that we are in a time frame that I have not really seen since probably about 2011, that the value of your house is more driven now by what somebody's willing to pay, and what they're willing to pay is what they can afford to do for a payment.
Okay.
Versus what it might say on paper.
Right.
When you look at the logistics of a house and say, that should be a $500,000 house. But on paper it looks like that. When you look at a buyer pool, the buyer pool might say, it's really a $465 because that's what the buyer pool can afford right now.
Yeah. Now, is that across the board? Starter homes, middle range, high end?
No, I think it's a little bit more segmented to the middle range, and I don't say that to be creating a negative situation, because the gist of it is real estate's all relative if you're buying and selling.
It's all
right?
Yeah, it's all market driven.
So if you're taking, let's say, 5% less on your home than what you thought you were going to get, the chances are you're going to get your next house for that as well. But the other piece of this is we can't forget that your house appreciated probably, 20% more than it maybe would have in a normal marketplace. Sure. So you're still ahead of the game.
But isn't that just kind of the way it goes, the reason people get into real estate?
It is. And I think that people forget at times that the appreciation is, can go up, but it can also go down. Yeah. And I don't see us going down, but I do think the national statistic at this point is that we are in a 3-year kind of, they're calling it the big chill a little bit.
I was just going to say a cooling off period.
Yeah, the cooling off period. Yeah. And then we have 3 years of the median house price has just kind of stayed the same. And
why, do you suppose?
I think it's a lot of combination of factors. I mean, we're looking at, the interest rates went up.
Yep.
The, wages have not necessarily gone up. Mm-hmm. But the inventory also increased.
Okay.
So we're not in a position where people are fighting over the same product because there's options.
Now, you said interest rates went up, okay? I would use the word returned to normalcy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because that was crazy money before.
Well,
Right?
I
But
agree.
people expect that now, right? Especially, I think, younger people. Well, wait a minute. You know?
And I think there's some of that, but you know, the correction, I mean, we did go down, we went up and then we have come down. I mean,
Right.
and right now I think we're at
Right around
like
6, aren't we?
yeah, and it might even be at a 3-year low
Okay.
because they're starting to see a resurgence of refinancing for people that locked in the last couple of years at that higher rate. But the difference, the calculated difference in affordability right now is that even though those interest rates might have corrected a little bit more,
Yep.
taxes and insurance have gone up. So, you know,
There is
we
that.
fixed one thing and then the other thing changed. So, you know, really as an agent, we have to constantly educate sellers at this point that our buyers are payment driven buyers and getting into a price range that they can afford to pay is going to be crucial as part of the process. And sometimes you don't know, especially going into the spring market, like where does that lie?
So how's inventory right now?
Well, the inventory is on the build right now because you know it's February,
Right.
but we are seeing it. There's certain towns where people are just waiting for things to show up, and there are a lot of properties that didn't necessarily sell in the fall where you're going to start seeing those show back up again.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of will there be any adjustments in those prices?
I believe today is the best day to buy your house or to sell a house. I really do. Today.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not saying that because
Yeah.
you're standing here.
Yeah.
Get into the real estate market. Buy a house. My gosh.
Yeah, it's a fantastic way to build your future,
Absolutely.
right?
Equity is waiting for you. All right, Heidi, how do we work with you at VoigtJohnson Real Estate?
Well, you can call us anytime at 320-774-2400 or visit us at VoigtJohnson.com. We got a great gallery of agents there for you.
Heidi, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.